What's the cost for a man? Let's just boil this down to economics now, to numbers. What's the cost for any regular man to provide for a sister who's never been married before and house her and feed her, in comparison to a sister who has been married before and provide for her and feed her? What's the difference in cost?
I would imagine there's a difference in cost. Yeah, I don't know what that difference is, bruv, but I would imagine that there is a difference. Yeah.
Well, in this example, let me be more clear. I wasn't clear enough. Two sisters, both of them don't have kids. One of them has been married before. One of them hasn't been married before. Right. The cost is the same, right? They're two human beings. The cost is exactly the same.
Yeah.
But one of them is more desirable than the other. The one who's never been married before is more desirable than the one who has been married before, generally speaking. Okay, now let's take that a step further. So in this example, before I take it a step further, you are going to be paying the same amount for a less desirable prospect when you could pay the same amount for a more desirable prospect.
But it's not a car.
It doesn't matter. Men are more attracted to women who don't have a history. Men are concerned with a woman's sexual past. Women are concerned with a man's financial future. That's the way it goes, right? Men have an obsession with purity. That's that example. Now let's take it one step further. What's the cost for a man to take care of a sister, provide for her, feed her, and so on, who's never been married before, in comparison to a woman who has been married before and has, let's say, 3 kids? What's the cost difference there between those two examples?
I don't know the difference in fiscal to financial terms. I would imagine it's more expensive to raise 3 kids. Yes, of course.
Right. So without going too much into the details of the numbers, we can safely assume that it's going to be cheaper to take care of this first example than to take care of the sister who's got kids, right?
Yes, yes,
now,
we can.
On a purely economics perspective, taking all emotion out of it, what sense does it make for a man to marry a sister who is inherently less desirable to him and pay more for her when he could have one who's never been married before and pay less for her?
Okay, so again,
I'm not make. Please answer that question.
I will answer that question. I'm definitely do want to answer that question. I don't really like these terminologies about pay for her because that doesn't sound right to me. Okay, so let's just say financially, how much would it cost him? Because pay for her means that you're buying something. Okay, and I'm not comfortable with that terminology. First off, okay. Secondly, if I was presented with a woman that was a virgin and never been married, and I was presented with a woman that's divorced with 3 kids, like we're talking about, okay, if the dean of the woman, let me tell you, in this life, I've been over the recent years, in my older years, I have had at least 2 to 3 young, beautiful women that have never been married before, never had kids, asked to or questioned to marry me. And all 3 times, and we're talking women that are less than half my age, much less. Okay, I've said no. I've said no to those young ladies because it wasn't the right move for them. Fantastic for me. I would have had a great time. Not the right move for them. I had to consider the big picture and what's best for them. Then we get back onto this point now about the woman with the 3 kids. If I'm going to take on, if I'm happy with her religion, I'm happy with her character, I can communicate, I can connect, I feel like I want to share my life with this woman, then I will take on those kids and look at every penny that I put to those children as a path to paradise. I will look at it as a blessing, not as a burden. No problem. If I didn't like her character and I didn't want to make that extra step, then I would marry the other one. No problem. But I'm saying that, brother, with all sincerity, if she had 3 kids, I wouldn't consider the financial cost because Allah will provide anyway.
That's great, okay, and I like all of that, but I'm a practical man, okay? I'm a pragmatic, practical man. And the practicalities are this. For every penny, for every pound that you put into the mouth of another child is a penny or a pound taken out the mouth of your child.
I'm not that callous about it, brother. I don't look at it that callously.
It doesn't matter. If you're not looking about it like that, then I advise that you do. Because you know why, Akhi Isa? Because most men are earning average salaries. Most men are earning average salaries, which means most men have to budget smartly. Your biological children are always going to take precedence over another man's child. Always. It's just the way it is. Okay. And that's why I say to the sisters, if you want to get married again and you have children, okay, fine. Send the kids back to their father. And you will up your chances of finding a husband anyway. Because for a man to take on another man's children, that's a big ask. To feed and clothe and provide for another man's kids, another man's flesh that have no loyalty towards him, by the way. Let's be pragmatic here. Those kids have no tie to you, no connection to you, no sulat al-raham, the ties of kinship, right? When they grow up, they can turn around and say to you, cheers, thank you thanks for the ride, and off they go into the sunset, and they don't have an Islamic obligation to maintain a community, to maintain contact with you. You want to talk about Islam? This is facts. There is no obligation for them to do so. It's a bad investment, generally speaking.
Bro, it's a fantastic investment. It's the best investment. It's one of the best investments, bro, because if those children grow up 17, 18 years old and say, thanks for all the money, thanks for all the care, thanks for all the help, I'm going to go off and do what I want to do. Okay, fine. Your reward is with Allah. No problem. Why did you do it? For them to give you it back, or for the sake that Allah will reward you? Which one did you do it for?
Again, I can get reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala more. I can get more reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for providing for my own children.
I didn't say don't. I didn't say you wouldn't, would I? I didn't say I wouldn't put food on my own children's table.
Considering that my finances are limited, as all of ours are, it makes more sense for me to put that money where I will get the most reward. If that's how you want to look at it. I get more reward feeding my children than I do feeding another man's kids. Once again, poor investment. And as Renato has written here, sisters openly say, generally speaking, they don't want a man with kids. You see, the funny thing here is sisters are very practical when it comes to a man with children. Extremely practical, because they understand the ramifications of it, of marrying a man who already has children. But us men, we allow our masculine we want to exercise our masculinity by taking care of women and all of the rest of it. Women are ultra pragmatic in this regard. They don't entertain this nonsense.